Welcome back to Suns Valley Podcast, everybody. Sundo, have you had enough of these KD rumors? Are you ready for this to end or what?
Yeah, I'm absolutely ready for this to end. I'm tired of the rumors, tired of Suns front office apparently trying too hard. That's one report that's out there that they're trying to hold leverage when they don't got it. I'm ready for it to be done. I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah, so there's three teams that are truly in it, at least at the front of the pack. These are the teams that Kevin Durant came out and named. I want these teams. Really, he's come out and said, I want the Spurs. But there are two other teams that he's willing to accept, Rockets and Heat. Let's start with the Spurs. Personally, I honestly don't even want to deal with the Spurs unless, uncharacteristically on their part, they actually come out and give you something that they're not already offering. I do not expect the Suns to get Castle. I do not expect the Suns to get the number 2 pick. I think that that's ludicrous. I appreciate the whole reach for the moon, settle for the stars aspect of this. If their 14th overall pick is available, I want it. I do. I want them to accept something like that. Even going back a little bit on Jalen Green, who we've all said, no, we don't want Jalen Green. We don't want Jalen Green. The Suns don't want him. We don't need a third shooting guard. Maybe you have to accept that from the Rockets and do the harder work of moving Jalen Green halfway through the season next year and not just getting to have everything stacked in your favor right now, getting the players you want, maybe you need to do this in pieces. This is the terrible situation you've put yourself in as the Suns, trading away all your assets. Nobody said it was ever going to be easy, but the Spurs just seem like they are dead set on trade R-wording the Suns, and I want no part of that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The only way I'm budging, or the only way as a fan I'll be happy if we trade with the Spurs is if it includes the 14th overall pick. You know what I mean? That's the starting point, like 14th overall pick, and then some players or whatever you got to add to it. But if it doesn't involve that pick, I'm absolutely out. Like the Spurs, you got to start with the 14th overall pick, and then you can maybe talk me into a Harrison Barnes and some other players. Sure, I might go that route with the Spurs. With the Rockets, I mean, you're right about that one. Like the Suns may have to actually settle for the Jalen Greens and the Jabari Smiths, which, by the way, me being the stand, love Jabari Smith. I would love that. But yeah, you're definitely have to start with that. And then, like you said, do the hard work later. And I mean, if you see yourself as quote unquote rebuilding, but not rebuilding, and you want to get assets and you want to be able to get picks, I mean, there's no better way to do it than with a younger player like Jalen Green. You can play him. You know, I know that you're concerned about having too many guards if you have to keep Bradley Beal, but the rumor's also out there that Bradley Beal could be on the move as well. So we can talk about that later with Gambo. He said something today about, Bradley Beal, but it's going to take some work. You basically can't do what the Nets did to you for KD. Like, you just can't do that. You're not in that sort of situation. Like, you're going to have to settle for something and make something work. Like, this whole, we want a comparable deal for Kevin Durant that we traded to get him is not a reality. So they got to just get off of that.
Let's go back to the Rockets. So Jalen Green is not just too many guards, it's too many shooting guards. It's too many people that play the exact same position, which is not a position where you're sharing the ball very much and making other people better. You're shooting the ball. Literally, it's in the name. So that's the problem with that. Jabari Smith Jr., terrific. I'm sure there's another young player that we can get them to come off of that will be of interest. The thing about the Rockets, as you're going back and taking a second look at these deals with a clearer eyes and a more open heart, is the picks. If we're not going to be getting what we want player-wise from other teams, then being able to get some of our picks back now to me is weighted a little bit better. So if it's Jabari Smith Jr. and it's another young player and we have to take on Jalen Green to make the money work, but we're getting our picks back, I value that better than Harrison Barnes, Vassell, and the 14th pick.
Yes, if we're going to do that, get your own picks back, get your own control back so you can control your own future. That way you don't have to worry about, possibly, honestly, like if you get this deal done with the Rockets and you get your own picks back, this makes the Bradley Beal being on your team a little easier to deal with. You know what I mean? Like it makes it land easier than if you didn't have control. Because at least you can say, well, we have our own picks now. Bradley Beal's still on the team. We can sort of figure this whole thing out. We don't have to do this whole like try to win some games here. You know what I mean? Like if you're able to pull that off, it does make Bradley Beal still being on your team. That makes that land easier. If that makes any sense to you, I would much rather do the Rockets deal, get control of your own picks, than anything else at this point, including the Timberwolves deal that's out there.
Let's move to the Heat, okay? Because the Heat's a team that I really want to do business with. It's just something about KD in Miami on the beach. Maybe he finds his wife, finally, and settles down a little bit. But Khalil Ware, listen, we know you don't want to give him up, Miami. We don't blame you. However, the East is weak next season with Tatum being out. Boston's kind of in the muck right now. Who knows how good they're going to be next year? The East is much more open than the West. I think if you put Harrow, Bam Adebayo, and Kevin Durant together, the way that Miami is able to develop their own and draft well, I think they could work around losing such a stud like Khalil Ware. But basically what I'm saying is the second they offer Khalil Ware, the Suns need to accept that trade. I don't think they're going to. I'm just saying if they did.
I mean, yeah, if they did, for sure. I don't blame the Heat for wanting to. When we were going through our draft process last year, we were just hoping because the scouts were saying and some of the reports saying that Khalil Ware would be in the range of the Suns. Clearly, he was not. Clearly, he went way earlier, and we missed out on that. And there's a reason why. I mean, if you look at the talent, there's a ton of potential and a ton of upside there, and that's why they probably don't want to move off of him. But if I'm the Suns and they put that on the table, then yeah, for sure, you pull the trigger immediately on that one. I agree with you, but it doesn't sound like they're going to, and so for me anyway, that takes the Heat off the table. That takes that offer off the table. That takes those trade talks off. Unless, again, like much like me and you just said with the Spurs deal, unless, like we said, if it has to be the 14th overall pick with the Spurs and then we can talk, it has to be Khalil Ware with the Heat and then we can talk. Other than that, no deal for me.
Unless they're willing to come up off of more picks. If they're willing to give you 3 firsts, but it's just lesser talent like just Jaime Jaquez Jr. and maybe Nikola Jovic, Duncan Robinson, obviously to make the money work and stuff. If it's multiple picks, much more than what you're going to get from the Spurs, man, I hate to get hardballed by Pat Riley after the whole Bradley Beal situation, but picks are picks, man.
Yeah, picks are picks. If we can, obviously we get controlled. Maybe we do the same thing that the Nets did with us, where they just take the gamble, where all of a sudden, maybe just maybe we may not be as good. Maybe the Heat may not be as good, and we take that gamble and we look out just like the Rockets and the Nets looked out with us. Maybe you do that. I can't argue with you there. I'm just, again, I would much rather go back to what is for sure with the Rockets before I even deal with the Heat and what you're offering. And unless, again, you get a blue chip like Khalil Ware, and then yes, I'm in. But I mean, you might be able to tip me if depending on the amount of picks that you get from the Heat. But again, like I would much rather do the Rockets deal, getting your own picks back and your own control back versus whatever they have to offer. Again, if it's just straight up picks, even with Hawkes and a bunch of young players.
On the Bradley Beal side of things, it's going to come down to whether or not he's willing to accept a trade offer. But maybe one of the ways that you bait another team into accepting a trade for him as well, getting into the trade talks for Bradley Beal, is by putting it out there, hey, we recouped some draft capital for Kevin Durant, and we might be willing to attach a first to Bradley Beal. That could open up other suitors that maybe Bradley Beal is willing. I don't want to have to do that, but maybe he'd be willing to go to some other teams that we could actually get interested, if that makes sense. That's why the picks from the Heat and the Rockets mean more to me than what we're looking at getting back from the Spurs, because it would really probably only be the 14th, if that.
Now, let me just ask you this. Let me move something along. What do you think about the Timberwolves rumors that are out there? How do you feel about those?
So the Wolves and the Raptors are like on the outside looking in. It doesn't seem like Kevin Durant wants to go to either place. The Raptors won their title by doing the exact same scenario with Kawhi Leonard. I mean, it was even reported he did not want to go to Toronto. Boom, they traded for him anyways. They won, and in the end, they got the last laugh because they got their title, and I'm sure it keeps them warm at night. I'm sure it was worth it for them to only have a one-and-done year. So I think they see that as a blueprint that they can do, and maybe the Wolves are willing to attempt the same thing here. If they are, Sundo, and the rumors that I think you're seeing are correct, I've seen trade packages out there that are saying Rudy Gobert, your guy Dante DiVincenzo, Rob Dillingham, who I'm very high on, Terrence Shannon Jr., who I'm even higher on, both rookies last year, both super talented and shifty and fast and athletic and young, the opposite of what the Suns are or have been, and the 17th overall pick. If that's on the table, meanwhile, Kevin Durant's putting it out there allegedly that he doesn't want to play in Minnesota, you got to just do that immediately. That is the haul you're looking for. That's the closest thing to the haul that you can get, I think.
For sure, I can't disagree with that one because, man, even like you said, if that's what they want to do, if they're going to take on Kevin Durant knowing he may not come back and they want to give us all that, hey, more power to you. I will take that deal. Give me the draft capital and those young players. Yes, 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 yes. I think if I had to rank the offers, I would go Houston 1, that offer 2, if, of course, they're on the outside looking in, but yeah, I would go that one and then the Timberwolves, and hopefully, they're that serious, and maybe that's the deal we get, and maybe the Suns pull the trigger and just tell KD, hey, look, we wanted you right by you, but this is the better deal, and so you can go there for a year, or you can try to talk your way out before the All-Star break. I don't know. Let me just ask you this: do you think that the Suns right now are going to do right by KD? Let me just switch that topic real quick. Do you think they'll do right by KD and send him somewhere where he wants to go? That way they kind of have that reputation around the league that they do right by their players. Or do you think they will do the burn the bridge and say, we don't care, we're just going to send you wherever?
I think that they don't have much of a choice because I don't really believe that a team is going to come out with no assurance that they're going to get him long term and at the same time beat out the other offers for Kevin Durant with no assurances. But let's say the Wolves say, hey, we know he doesn't want to be here. We don't care. That was our offer. Or the Raptors with their offer, which we'll talk about here in a second, come out and confirm that offer is real. Let's do it. I think that the Suns are so down bad that they would, quote unquote, burn that bridge of showing other NBA players, hey, the Suns are a team that will do what's best for them, not what's best for you. And, the Spurs did that with the Toronto Raptors. Did it hurt them? Are they in any worse position for letting Kawhi go to the Raptors when he didn't want to go there?
They were for a little bit, but it worked out at the end, right? But they also control their picks, so...
Well, they also don't have Brian Gregory running the show, so that's, unfortunately for them. To the Raptors and this alleged deal, which I hope is real. I'm not the biggest RJ Barrett fan. I'll go on record as saying that. However, he's 24, 25 years old. He averages 21 points a game last season. Shot 35 from 3. He's good with rim pressure. You could do worse, especially considering Jakob Poeltl is supposedly in that deal. Jakob is a very underrated center. He's a decent rim protector. I think he would be a better center than what the Suns have. They've been wanting center help. That helps that as well. And then Quickly is so nice. Like, I love Quickly. That's almost enough right there, those 3 things, for me to be more excited than the Spurs for sure. Okay. But it's also reported that they're offering the 9th overall pick. And I know this isn't the deepest draft ever, and I'm not quite sure where the Suns would go with that 9th pick. But if that is on the table, like, I really can see, I would put like a 25-30% chance likelihood that I can see the Raptors stepping in and pulling another Kawhi. And if they're giving us that package, if the Suns are getting that much back, I do it. I don't know about you.
if they're giving out that package, yeah.
Okay.
If and that's a big if, because I do feel like for the Raptors in their situation, that's kind of a lot to give up for Kevin Durant, right? That's just me personally. I feel like that would be a lot in their situation. But yeah, I am an RJ Barrett fan. I pointed out myself whenever you said that you weren't the biggest one. I was a big fan of RJ Barrett coming out. I thought the hype around Zion in that draft was too much. I thought he was and probably could have been the better player. And guess what? Zion's having issues and RJ Barrett's still doing his thing. So I've always liked RJ Barrett. So if you told me we can get him, I would do it just because I am
and the ninth pick, man.
Stan and the ninth pick because I'm a Stan. But then you run into the guard problem again. Then you run into the shooting guard problem again, all over again.
He's big though. He's big. He could play 3.
It's true, but you're still going to run into now you have to have somebody who's going to have the ball in their hands again. And the problem that we keep talking about, we have too many shooting guards. The same issue with the Jalen Green trade, the Rockets trade. You'd run into that issue here, but you can't deny the fact that you would get a center, like you said, and a player like Quickly. It sounds good. I'd put it third on the list of these deals, but still, I would probably stick with Rockets overall.
So I didn't write this down as something for us to talk about, but I'm glad I remembered. There is another name out there, and that name is Kristaps Porzingis from the Celtics. First things first, he's 29 years old, so he's basically the same age as Book. I didn't realize that. He feels older than that because it seems like he's been in the league longer. Maybe it's the injuries that have seemingly aged him, but he was great for the Celtics in their title run. I mean, great. Andy played it through injuries. That can't be it can't be Porzingis is the biggest piece. Like, they would have to come off draft picks, and I don't know what the rest of what they would be offering is. But does that move you in any way?
It would have moved me in 2016. Like, it would have moved me, earlier. Again, like you said, it's just the injury history with me. You've already got another injury history player in Bradley Beal. And, if that was like the big piece of this deal along with the picks, I don't know how I would necessarily feel about that. And I don't know if it even helps with the quote unquote win now situation that they pretending that they're in, where they don't want to just completely blow it up and quote unquote tank. They want to at least be competitive. I don't know how much that helps the competitiveness, because you're still going to have all the other holes in the team. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's an enticing name. It's a name. It's a name that me and you both liked. I remember whenever he was getting drafted, we loved him. We called him the Zing God, like when we played 2K and all that stuff. And so it's a name, but I just don't know if it helps.
That's fair. It would have to have other better things attached to it. But if they're coming off of 2 first-round picks and Porzingis and salary filler, they're
for sure.
They're going to be without Jason Tatum next season. So I can understand why they might come off of something like they want to keep the band together until he gets back, and then boom, you bring Tatum back in 2 years and KD's there still, and that's a interesting squad. I don't want to rule the Celtics out.
True, it does the money. I guess the money would work.
They'd find a way for sure.
They find a way for sure. But again, it's a name, and it depends on what else they put in that package and the picks and stuff. I know that's out there, but we don't know like very many more details of what it would be. We don't even know if Kevin Durant even wants to go to Boston, because you know how hard Boston media is on their players. So we don't even know if he wants to go there. So again, it's a name. We like the name, but I don't know if it helps.
I mean, it's the Boston Celtics we're talking about. This is one of the most storied franchises in sports history. Like, I would think if it came down to Boston or Minnesota, he would balk less. Yeah,
if he
Boston
had the choice, sure, you're going to go to Boston, the store. You have a better chance of winning a championship there that you think, because they're in the East, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But again, it's still East Coast media. It's still Boston. You know how hard Boston is on their sports teams. Like, they're like second to Philly, in my opinion. Maybe New York, but still, they're still going to be hard. It's a Northeast sports town. Like, they're going to be hard on them. I don't know if he would want to be in that situation. Kevin Durant seems to be more in a situation where he wants to just chill and relax in the sun and not be bothered too much. And that's not Boston for sure.
Time to talk about the nuclear option, which is Kevin Durant makes it completely obvious, like he's kind of already done. I want the Spurs. I'll only re-sign with the Spurs. And maybe not even that. Maybe you just say things aren't looking great. It just doesn't look like anyone's given up what we want. If it comes down to giving the Spurs a favorable deal for them or just nothing at all, I'm taking nothing at all, and I'm just accepting that we're running it back with Kevin Durant at least one more year or at least a half a year and trying to trade him again at the deadline and seeing, okay, who's had an injury now? Who now is a piece away? Is anyone now? Did someone go down on the Knicks? Did someone go down for the Rockets? Did someone go down for the T-Wolves? Are they now willing to readjust their offers because they're in good seated position to make a run? And they lost a player, I would just run it back. What does it matter, man? We're not winning a title in the next 2 years at best. So why not have Kevin Durant there and Bradley Beal under a coach that doesn't suck at life and see if things get a little bit better, even if Bradley Beal's there? What does it matter? You move off of Grayson and Royce, which we're going to talk about next as far as like what you would accept for them. But they're already looking to move off of those two. You're going to have some at least one player to draft. Is that the worst thing in the world, keeping Kevin Durant to you? I got a lot of flack when I suggested a lot of likes, but a lot of flack in the comments.
It's not the worst idea, especially if you're not going to get a deal now. I mean, and I would take it a step further, much like what Eric said in the last one, which is like, hey, sign him to a 3-year extension to make it easier for a team to acquire him at the deadline. Like, go that route. Say, hey, we still plan on trading you for sure at the deadline. Please sign an extension, and it'll get you where you want to go. That way the other teams ain't got to worry about it.
What if we're doing good halfway through the season? What if halfway through the season we're that's 6-7 games above 500?
That's a possibility.
And all of a sudden you don't need to.
But it's already out there, though, that they've already told him you're moving. You know what I mean? So we can talk about maybe him staying and they re-sign it and we do get it, but they've already told him, and the expectation is you're gone. You're not coming back. So you can say that all you want, but I expect, with what's out there in the reports and what's been said and going back and forth and teams talk to, I expect him to be moved this summer. That's just me.
I mean,
yes, that's always a choice that he could stay, and it's always a choice that we could exercise that leverage and make him make him sign an extension and say we'll trade you in the deadline in February. But with everything out there, I expect it to be this summer, dude.
I understand that, and the good points that I heard against that was like, if you wait till halfway through the season, a lot of teams could just decide, hey, let's just wait half of a season and we'll just sign him in free agency and not have to give up anything.
That's where you have to sell him extension. It's not that you just keep him, it's extension. And that's what I'm saying. Either you trade him this summer,
good point,
or it's the extension, then you trade him at the deadline. There's no, we keep him. It's got to be that. It's got to be trade him this summer, extension, trade him deadline. There's no in between. It's one or the other.
The Suns have two players that I like, man. In a perfect world, I would keep at least one of Grayson and Royce. They're both really good shooters, 40 and 37% three-point shooters. They're not selfish players. Royce is a little bit better on the defensive end. I'd say Grayson's a little bit better on the offensive end. But they're both on really good contracts, and they're both pretty darn good shooters to really good shooters. So you can hypothetically get something back for one or both of these guys, and it looks like the Suns are going to do that. What would your asking price be for the two of them? Not necessarily as a package deal, but individually, or if you were going to package them, I guess.
I would move them to competitive teams that are looking for pieces to win, and I'm asking for a first-round pick, no more, no less. You know what I mean? Especially with those contracts. I'm sorry, but those contracts are. I think Grey Goose just signed his extension, so he's got 3-4 more years left. I can't remember if he signed 4 or 5, but he's got 3-4 more years left. Royce, in his contract at $10 million a year, is a good contract and good control. You can definitely demand a first-round pick for each of these dudes if you really wanted to. And for a team that's trying to compete, potentially, if you can get them desperate enough, you could ask for more. But I think that's the expectation. That's what I would do. It's like, hey, yes, they're role players. They're solid. Their contracts are favorable. $16 million for Grey Goose, 10 mil for Royce. I'm not taking anything less than a first round pick. Starting point.
I think you're exactly right with that, dude. I would say both of them. You give up one first rounder and you could have either of them.
Yeah, starting point. Starting point. If a team wants to give you more because it starts a bidding war and teams are in service, then you're in business. But for sure, it's starting first round pick for Goose, for Royce, especially if it's a team that's competitive because you expect it to be late anyway. But that's where I'm starting with. Sorry, the contracts are just too good and they're too valuable of a player, and they offer a lot for teams that are competing for you not to let them go for anything less. And also, I don't see like a team like, I want to say the Magic, but they just traded for Bane. But you get what I'm saying? I don't see a team like that's at the bottom of the barrel trading for a player like that unless they just absolutely want control. But even then, it's still a valuable contract for control. You can still demand that from them as well. So it's first round pick all around.
Tell us what you guys think in the comments on any of these topics. Where'd we go wrong? Where'd we go right? What do you want for Grayson and Royce, or do you want to keep them? We'll see you guys for the next live stream. That'll be game 6 of the finals. You think Pacers are gonna get another one back? You think they bring in the extender?
I sure hope so, dude. I would like to see this go 7. It's been a good series, man, and it's good to see two teams that will win their first championship.
That's true.
For OKC, I mean, they are the Supersonics, but technically OKC would win their first championship. But either way, like, it's going to be good to see one of these teams win, and for sure, I need the Pacers to win. Let's get to 7 because it's been a good series.
I will see you guys Friday night. Till then, go Suns.